What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, wrapping up a awesome week. Of course, we'll have videos for you over the weekend like I always do. I never forget you all on the weekends. I know fewer people are interested in what's going on in YouTube and this and that, but I understand that a lot of you work on the weekends. You need a little something to get through the day. Some of you enjoy getting those videos on the weekend, so I will continue to produce them. For today, I want to end up on kind of cataloging the dumpster fire that Google Stadia has become, whether it's lying about 4K resolution, whether it's claiming that you're targeting women, or the ridiculous claim that you have a gender-neutral controller. Stadia has been a very interesting product to launch. Much like the Tesla Cybertruck reveal last night, I've left a lot of people asking who asked for this. Cloud gaming is, of course, something that is coming, whether you like it or not. I'm not exactly a big fan of it, I think, for a lot of reasons, but it doesn't matter. It's just the way things are happening now. You can't even, they even give you, Call of Duty gives you a steel case for no disc. All that's in here is a piece of cardboard with a CD key on it. It's not even a CD key, it's a download key. So, the question about whether or not cloud gaming is a thing is not even up for debate. It's the future of gaming, whether we like it or not. I still prefer physical inventory. I still prefer, even if I'm going to then get digital purchases, things like Steam, so I can play my games offline. But overall, still prefer the disc, still prefer the cartridge. Well, a lot has gone wrong with the Stadia launch, much of which I think people expected, whether it was, laggy connection speeds or input lag, or Stadia coming out and telling people, hey, don't be downloading anything while you're playing Stadia, or the Chromecasts overheating from Stadia. It's just got innumerable issues for a product that nobody wanted. See, the interesting thing about Stadia, and correct me if I'm wrong, when this was originally announced, I was certain this would be ad supported. If you could play Red Dead Redemption 2 for free on Stadia, but have ads overlaying it, a lot of us would say, well, that's immersion breaking, I hate it. But there are a lot of people who would deal with it just fine. A little mid-roll ad when you open it, when you close it, when you pause the game, things like that, I think would have been a far superior business model if they would have been able to make it work. Now, I don't know if the financials would have worked there, but the idea that I have to buy Stadia, I have to buy a controller, and I have to pay full price for the game leaves me wondering who in the heck even wanted this, and even if they did, who's even buying it? Now, when you look at 4K, in a review, Verge spoke to Bungie, the developers behind Destiny 2, and confirmed that Stadia's version of the game isn't the same 4K version as other platforms. Rather, Destiny 2 on Stadia renders at 1080p and is simply upscaled to improve the quality. In other words, Destiny 2 currently never plays in 4K on Stadia. The problem extends to other games like Red Dead Redemption 2, another big name for the platform that also doesn't play in true 4K. Eurogamer confirmed that the game only renders at 1440p and then is upscaled to 4K on the Chromecast Ultra. The quality difference is also very obvious when you look at the game side by side with its 4K version on Xbox One. This is particularly frustrating because the 4K is something you have to pay for. You pay for that. You can see very clearly how washed out it is on Stadia. And here, the Xbox One versus the Stadia, if you just look at the horse, or what's probably a better image is, looking at how the tree is more detailed, or up close, you can't even see the strap on his jacket here. You can just see much clearer the two. And again, 1440p is still pretty dang good, and most people don't have a 4K TV, and as we always say. However, they're paying for it, and it's not getting. Google's Phil Harrison explicitly said that all games will be running in 4K 60 FPS, but Destiny and Red Dead Redemption 2 simply don't. Rather, they're upscaled to meet that. Worse yet, there was a tweet that seemingly confirmed Red Dead Redemption 2 would run at 4K, but that tweet has since been deleted. So essentially caught lying. Instead of addressing it, you simply delete the tweet. Since the first reveal of Stadia, Google has bragged about the powerful hardware running the service and how it can handle 4K 60 FPS without breaking a sweat, even leveraging multiple instances to improve the quality. So far, though, we've yet to see Stadia actually pulling that off. If the company had said some games ran at a lower resolution and relied on upscaling or even pushed the underlying hardware prowess less, this would be less of a problem. Google clearly has the power to fix the problem, and I genuinely hope they do. I can forgive Stadia for some of the shortcomings for now, whether Google wants to admit it or not. The service is essentially in beta right now. Google Stadia won't matter for a year, but if Google thinks it can blatantly lie about the quality of its games, they're wrong. And I mean, if you look at it's difficult. It's truly difficult to understand, I guess, where we'll be in a year from a gaming perspective. So many people out there are still buying the discs at Walmart. There's a huge section of gamers that still buy the game, even though they don't get the disc, or the disc simply unlocks a super mega huge download. The big question is, of course, in the United States, remember when we talked about always online DRM and how terrible that was? This is just that to the nth degree. If you have, a super stable connection, look, at my house, I get almost 400 megabit down and 50 or 80 up. I forget exactly what it is. I probably need to test it again. Plus, I have a backup internet for the channel that is only 10 up, and I think it's UVerse, so it's a little different kind of 10. But once they open full fiber in my area, it'll probably be my primary internet. I just have a backup because sometimes when I stream, the stream goes out, and that's unacceptable for running a business. That said, how many people even have the juice to run this? There were a lot of people, Paul Tassi included from Forbes, who talked about having a pretty premier connection, a connection that even Google Stadia said was fine for 4K, and having significant lag and issues running the games even in latency mode or like low resolution mode. Now, maybe this is server issue and the lag isn't the issue and it was some sort of other hiccup, but nonetheless, these are problems that are unacceptable. Now, maybe Google thinks that women won't care. Google hopes to target women with Stadia. They hope as a usually left out segment of players can be reached. I'm not sure how this works. It seems like something you say when you're Google to generate headlines. There's absolutely not one single feature that Stadia has that you could argue is, quote, for women. I mean, is it the game selection? No. I mean, adding games like Chex Notes, Farming Simulator doesn't tell me that you're, quote unquote, targeting women. Now, there's a section of gamers that transcend gender norms. Absolutely. But if you look at large-scale numbers, women in general prefer puzzle games and other types of games. Yes, there are hardcore FPS female gamers out there, of course. But the numbers show that women tend to prefer different types of games. Maybe The Sims, for example. It's obviously some men enjoy The Sims, but this is a game that is played by many women. When I'm looking at Stadia's launch titles, I don't exactly know what about this tells me you're targeting women. Assassin's Creed will just say no. Attack on Titan, no. Destiny 2, no. Farming Simulator, no. Final Fantasy, maybe. It's an MMO. Football Manager, no. Grid, a racing game, no. Guilt, no. Just Dance, okay. That I'd argue. Okay, so 1 out of 10. Kind, Metro Exodus, Mortal Kombat, NBA 2K20, Rage 2, and Rise of the Tomb Raider. So either games are clearly agender in terms of their interest or tend to skew towards male, or they have maybe 1, maybe 2 games that would argue that it's for, they're trying to target women. So CNN Business interviewed several keys behind Google Stadia, such as VP and head of Stadia, Phil Harrison. They said they look Stadia as something more female-friendly other than competitors, largely because they aren't designing Stadia in a traditional way like platform holders who have been more masculine in how they line things up with the hardware and the controller. The And without baggage of long-standing game companies, they feel Stadia has less connection to a pre-existing game culture than its competitors. What? Anything about that? I mean, maybe it's Friday and I'm tired, and I don't understand everything that these big brains at Google are doing. But exactly what about this is targeting women? It's still a controller that looks like any other controller. It's still the same games. So what? Women will play it because you can play it without a console? I don't know. This feels like something you're just saying. Google looked at hundreds of colors, polled and thousands of gamers before deciding on Wasabi. What Google found, according to the director of Isabel Olsen, is that the color had universal appeal. What are we talking about? Well, a gender-neutral controller. We'll get into that in just a minute. Quote, if Google had an advantage here versus Xbox or PlayStation, it's that it doesn't have pre-existing, quote, gamer culture that it has to appease, said Lane Nooney, assistant professor and historian of video games at New York University. So, if you're not trying to appease existing customers, well, you're not going to get many of them. And if you're fine without them, I don't see anything. What about this is for women? Any more than it is for men. This is absurd. This is insane pandering. Their big reveal, traditionally gamer gear has been manly. Why? What? How? My brain is breaking. One of the most innovative elements, however, subtle of the new gaming service is the design of their controller. Traditionally, gamer gear has been manly. Microsoft's Xbox controller comes in colors like electric blue and fire truck red. So girls like electric blue? Are you joking? Sony's controllers are available in black as well as various shades of neon and camo. By the way, you can make your controller whatever color you want with a sticker. And NVIDIA's angular black controller looks a little too much like Darth Vader's mask. Stadia is taking a more gender-neutral approach. Google is selling controllers that come in white, black, or wasabi green. Nintendo, which made the Switch Lite in bright colors like turquoise and yellow, is another outlier in designing for a gaming audience that includes women as well as men. Are you saying that that a PlayStation or an Xbox doesn't include them? In what way? This is absurd. You're saying that the controllers are the reason? Gamers react to gender-neutral controller. How about the input lag? Google has said that Wasabi controller is their super gender neutral. Some historical competitors in the console space have been a bit more masculine. Both men and women gravitated towards this color. It ended up being super gender neutral, but still very expressive. It's hard to find colors like that. Literally nobody cares. Regardless of whether the controller is truly gender neutral or not, there's more pressing issues with Stadia that are putting men and women off as they continue to cling tightly to Xbox One, PS4, Nintendo Switch, as well as PC services such as Steam. I mean, the idea that there's all these women out there who are just a controller color away from playing games is absurd. It's 100% to do with their interest, and having your controller look more like a vibrator isn't going to change that. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you play tons of video games this weekend. I'll be playing some Final Fantasy online. I know many of you have asked what server am I on. Some people have found me. I just kind of like to go about my business right now and learn the game, but I definitely would love to start playing with all of you maybe in December once I'm a little more familiar with it. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been able to play, so I'm hoping to get a nice sesh in this weekend. But I'm going to have to run out and get a more gender-neutral game controller, though, so my wife feels a little more comfortable in the same room with it. So I'll take her to Best Buy tonight, and we'll see if we can find one, and then I can play some more Final Fantasy. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.